60 minutes from your boys, some fantastic football play.
Yeah.
Can you give me your thoughts on the result in the end?
Disappointed, first and foremost, because I felt the 60 minutes warranted more than 1 point, but really proud in terms of we played the way we want to play. So myself and Steve speak about regularly, we talk about the importance of the performance, don't necessarily talk about points. And I felt for 60 plus minutes, we played our way, we moved the ball well, we dominated the ball, and then when it broke down, we were on the front foot and got it back quickly. So I think take the emotion out of it, say tomorrow we'll look back on the game and go, it was a really impressive performance from us, and we'll be a little bit happier than what we are now after what we feel was a disappointing draw. But I think again, take the emotion out of it, we'll look at it tomorrow and go, it's a point gained potentially, especially with results around us.
And Steve, the style of play, I love the style of play. It's some lovely passing football. They move the ball very quickly and they're not frightened to hit long and in behind when they need to be hit behind. And I don't often see football sides overplay. Your lads don't overplay. They know when to play and when not to. But the biggest impressive thing was the way they moved the ball about on a boggy pitch.
It's kind. Lost my voice, Mick, to be honest. Shouting way too much tonight. I'm disappointed with the result in the end. We try and play. I think it's evident that we're well coached. I don't mean that in a way, we've got a management team and coaching staff behind us. We try and play in a way which is expansive, but ball retention's key. Maintaining possession's key. Game control is we bore them to death with game control. Really disappointed last 20 minutes. I felt that if we made them run more, with safer passes, believe it or not, tight them out and then slot, I thought we would have caused havoc, but I thought we went too long last 20. Last 20 was a disappointment, and as you know in football, 1-0 is always a dodgy scoreline. As it's 2-0 with 1-0, I thought we could have been outside half time, should have been 4. And you don't score your chances, but if we're going at 3-0 we were happy, and going at 2-0 we're happy, but that 1-0 was always a chance, and they had the sniff, and then at the end our keeper had to make a worldie, didn't they? So in the end, I said to the keeper in the end, our keeper Charlie's made a great save, so it could have been with nothing, but I'm happy. We're happy enough.
Got involved in their rhythm. That was the problem. So one of the things that we talk about a lot is the rhythm. So from our point of view, we talk about three-quarter pace and grinding teams down and making sure we don't get involved in their way of playing. So from our point of view, we felt South Park were looking for free kicks, wanted to slow the game down, make the game messy. Whereas what we wanted to do was just keep building that momentum and keep playing that rhythm. And I just felt last 20 minutes we got involved in that, and before you know it turns into basketball, and it's we lack control. And I think that suits them more than what it suited us. But,
And basically, you've got a club policy. Very impressed with an interview you've done a couple of weeks ago on a rival show. And basically, the youngster policy, Steve and Chris, I think is paying off on what I've seen tonight. But is it enough, in all honesty? And your supporters are probably wondering, are the youngsters going to win you the league? Because a club of Hastings' stature and, progression, are these young lads really going to get you in that top 5 and win you the league, which has definitely got to be the remit, surely?
Yeah, go on. Well, yeah, we don't know. But you tell me when the last time Hastings got promoted, mate.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Right, so they haven't been promoted with external people, so let's try and get promoted with internal people. And when I mean that, with the locals, because the club needs the structure, and we're building with the board, aren't we? We have a process, so.
Yeah. The thing is, it works both ways. When we talk about local players, developing our own local players, and we also talk about getting players from outside the area in terms of have to come at a premium. Is it sustainable? Do they have the best interest of the club at heart? It works both ways in terms of if we produce our own players, they're less likely to go elsewhere. And what we've now got is we've got 90% of our squad has an affinity with the club, has come through either the academy system or is from around the area, and we feel that there's a lot more longevity in that than journeyman from Kent or journeyman from London. I get it, you need 2 or 3. Yeah, I understand that because it's a different type of player. I'm not saying for 1 minute as manager that we're going to get promoted with a team that lives exclusively outside the pilot field. But what I am saying is there's a lot of talent. It's a bigger town than Burnley. We've got a very successful academy. We might as well use it and back what we're doing. As I said, it's a different approach, and since we've gone with the younger players, we've lost 4 games in nearly 4 months. And that team today, so when we talk about younger players, I think a lot of people think 21, 22. Most of them are teenagers out there. our oldest player is 31 and the next oldest is 25 and the next oldest is 22 and the rest are all kids, either 20 or under. So I just think the development they've made over the past couple of months is huge. And then what we're not doing is we're not assuming just because we've been really successful this year or we've seen the development this year that we're going to immediately go and challenge next year or win the league. We're not naive enough to think that. We need to work twice as hard because now we're on people's radar. So what we need to do is we need to recruit the right players over the summer, retain the players that we want to keep, and go into a pre-season where we're not rebuilding, the manager's not changed, and that you've got the foundations in place and you're adding the windows and the roof as opposed to the footings on the house.
So obviously Hastings have got a budget. They've obviously done really well in the FA Cup a few years ago. They must have earned a bomb from that perspective. So there must be a pot of money there for both Chris and you, Steve, to use to bring in some extra quality to bring these youngsters on. And it's a double-sided question I'm asking you. If you can answer that, but also you sort of answered the other one, which was maybe what supporters think. You know, are they all local youngsters? Is it only 2 or 3 that you're able to travel down from London? Because necessarily supporters don't buy into that.
Well, in terms of like players from out of the area, we've got, over the course of a 22-man squad, we've got 5 players from out of the area. So I think the percentages stack up. In terms of what Hastings did with the FA Cup money is what 99.9% of non-league clubs don't do, is they invested in the infrastructure. So they made the club a lot more sustainable, whereas a lot of clubs would obviously chuck a load of money at a team, doesn't work and it folds. Whereas what we're really lucky is they've invested in the infrastructure, and I think it's sustainable, and it's my responsibility and our responsibility that it's not just on the pitch we look after, but also that however long I'm here, however long Steve's here, that the next person that picks up the baton in the club's in a better place than where we found it. I think it's really important.
And a little bit moving on to yourself, I don't know particularly a lot about yourself, so please don't feel I'm embarrassed. But if you can just let me know a little bit about yourself, and also let us know how you bought into Steve, because obviously I know Steve pretty well, how you two linked up to become the dream team of Hastings.
Well, I'll let the dream team be decided next season maybe. But so I've coached for over 15 years. I worked at Brighton Hove Albion in their academy programme, then I worked at Eastbourne Borough within their academy, and then I was the assistant manager at Eastbourne Borough for a year, 18 months at National League South. Left Eastbourne Borough just over a year ago now, come to Hastings, was then appointed head of their academy coaching and recruitment. Adam Hinchell will come in the summer. It's all happened quickly, by the way. I was appointed as assistant manager because I worked in the Brighton, and then obviously Adam left after Worthing come in for him, and they give me the responsibility to take on the role, so to speak.
And what does Steve bring to the table?
Well, I spoke about this on the Isthmian show. Steve is what a lot of people would have done, because I'm relatively young. They would have brought in someone that's safe in terms of someone that's not going to challenge or not going to is going to agree with everything you say, whereas I wanted to bring in a strong personality. I know Steve through both his brother and guys that work at Millwall, so one of my best mates works at Millwall as a goalkeeper. I've obviously seen Steve on the circuit, and what I wanted to do was bring in someone that come with different ideas and different opinions, because I didn't want someone who was just going to go, yes Chris, because I know I don't know everything, and it's really important that, from my point of view, I'm challenged and the players are challenged. And what Steve thinks about, I mean, so many, like, there's a couple of things he's done tonight and said, which I hadn't even considered. So talking about the amount of times that South Park have played over the past month. Now for me, I'm 100% on the pitch, tactical, fullbacks coming inside and all that bits and pieces. Whereas what Steve, as well as talking about that, he'll talk about the more pragmatic sides of the game and brings a bit of reality to me. So it's a massive compliment to what I do.
And Steve, obviously I know you know this league inside out, and hence why I think Chris is obviously why he's brought you in. And there's a lot of talented youngsters, particularly I noticed Golding looked a good player out on that right wing, and obviously we both know Callum Davis, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you brought probably Callum to the club with the Leverhead connections. Can you tell me the difference from being at Leverhead, the plus points?
Jimmy Bullard?
What are the plus points that you feel? Are there any negatives and positives from leaving Leverhead and coming to Hastings?
I'll say this very confidently about Chris, and he gets blushing, he blushes, but I've worked with some great coaches, like good coaches, obviously in the pro game, and knowledge, he's the best. So you can tell that because he drives it. He drives the process. So I'm just there to clean up all the mess.
But what about Leverhead? I mean, was Leverhead a good club to be at?
Yeah, everyone knows I love Leverhead. Me, I love the fans. I hope I have a good relationship with the fans at Leverhead. You know, I spend a lot of time making effort for those fans in all sorts of ways. Obviously, Brady, you know, gave me an opportunity with Mike, and then obviously Jimmy came in. Me and Jimmy known each other donkeys before that, but you know, Jimmy was obviously, you know, a live wire, and for me to be his number 2, most people said it was quite a good choice because I'm pretty reasonably sensible. I wasn't tonight, I lost my rep tonight, but generally I regard myself as pretty rational. And yeah, obviously the Leverhead thing came to an end. Sammy came in, and Sammy and Jack are great lads, you know, good as gold, and still speak to them regularly. But the opportunity came up to come to Hastings, and I wouldn't have come. My brother knows Chris, and I wouldn't have come without that recommendation because I trust my brother's knowledge.
Right, and last but not least, BCD coming up this Saturday. Obviously, that's Keith's side, and obviously you make Keith on the last thing. 3 points got to be in it.
We don't talk about. I mean, to be fair, the last time we played BCD, I think it was the best 45 minutes last season. I mean, we were rampant, weren't we? And I think he made 2 substitutions after 20 minutes. I just think, without sounding boring, I mean, I like all paper. I think it gets home with me because all I talk about is process and making sure that we play our way and we make sure we prepare the players properly, and then the points should look after itself. So we're going to VCD, obviously having them watched, recognising what they can and can't do, respecting that, but still banging the drum in terms of what we're good at, and hopeful of keeping what has started to. I mean, we went on a 10-game unbeaten run recently. This is 3 now, so it's just all the time keeping a bit of momentum going and keeping the scoreboard ticking over without drowning the players of expectation. I was just going to say, sorry, because the young players at the minute it's got. I think the expectation's too much in terms of you've got to win. Whereas if we had a group of tried and tested and experienced players like Tom Beers and people like that that Greenwich had, I think you can hammer down the expectations. Whereas for us, it's very much bigger picture and taking small steps.
Yeah, I'm sure Keith has heard that and rally his troops against you on come Saturday. Last question, I think I'm going to ask this on the majority of our interviews, is how do you think the referee performed tonight? Because they get a lot of bad press, so I'm just quite interested. If it's going to be negative, let's keep it very short. If there's any positives, let's say it, you know. Both of you should say something.
I just think from my point of view, the priority's got to be to protect the players. And you know, I just thought there was one tackle tonight that was absolutely, well, it wasn't the best. And when you ask the question, it says, well, he didn't get hurt. There's a question mark, but then I also appreciate it's a difficult job. I wouldn't want to do it. The poor linesman having me and Stevens here for 90 minutes, it must be a nightmare. But I just think for me the priority is that it's sensible and that the players are protected. I accept they'll make mistakes, we make them. And I always think as well, when you hear managers talk, if they're talking about the referee an awful lot, chances are the result hasn't gone their way. So I want to focus more on what we did as opposed to what he did in the middle.
So one bad tackle is pretty much all he got wrong, or Steve, do you feel differently?
How many niggly fouls did they make second half? Like they must have made 15 fouls that were nothing fouls, but they aren't nothing fouls because they kill flow, and that's where South Park needs to take credit. You know, if you could have taken niggly fouls and the ref ain't going to do anything about it, and it's just frustrating because I work it out. You know, niggly foul after niggly foul after niggly foul, they get back in, they get back in, they get back in, and you know, just I don't know. The referee ain't the reason we drew the game in the story. If we put the ball in the back of the net, probably ain't talking about the ref, so we need to take responsibility ourselves, you know.
Right, thank you very much.
Well,
Chris,
pleasure, Mick.
and Stephen, thank you very much for giving us the interview tonight.
Cheers, guys.